Today's Tuesday, February 21st, 2006, 11:29 a.m. I've already done some recording. Now I'm about to go on my lunch break. Set up my sting. Got the footage off of it last night, cleared off the memory card. And this is the recording device. So all the audio and video I record is going to go onto this, and it's going to go onto this 4 gig card. This is the Wiles Hog Farm. Looks like this is where I'm going to go to apply at. I've looked over some of the info from HFA's previous hog farm investigations, and this stuff looks really nasty. You know, pigs cannibalizing each other and beating piglets over the head and all that kind of shit. I mean, I think this is going to be some nasty, nasty work.
Bob Baker, our field investigator, knew of Pete's work on other animal cruelty issues and felt that he would be the person to go into this facility if anybody could. One of the things that we know about Pete is that he's fearless. And not everybody can withstand the kind of risk that's involved in going undercover in these facilities.
Apparently this is the residence of the farm owners, and this is the main farm area right here. Supposedly there's about 6,000 sows, 10,000 piglets at any given time on the different properties, but most of them are housed right here at this location. So I'm gonna have to work with everyone else and try and be buddy-buddy with them to work alongside them. I think I'm gonna have to go with the flow on this one. I've never worked at a factory farm before. This will be my first. But, you know, there's always a first for everything. So I'll just try to blend in.
There's no one inspecting the way animals are raised for meat in this country. There are no laws other than the general anti-cruelty laws. And unfortunately, most states make exemption for farm animal practices because they know it's cruel. So it's up to private organizations like Humane Farming to represent these animals and to bring these abuses to the law enforcement attention.
Ingrid contacted the Humane Farming Association, and over a period of weeks, we developed a relationship with her, and we're really struck by her commitment and her compassion.
Never looked at a piece of pork and associated it with a pig. never thought that a pig was actually like a dog and had feelings and emotions. And they're fourth on the intelligence scale. So you're looking at, you know, humans, primates, dolphins, and the pig.
The pig isn't bringing you your newspaper in the morning. They, you know, people just, for the most part, just don't empathize with these animals. But they're living, feeling creatures. They suffer and they feel pain.
I had to have a pretext to get on the farm, a reason why I'm there. And so I basically spoke to this employee, Ingrid, and said, hey, I'm just gonna say I'm your cousin, I don't really know you, and I'm out of luck with work, and my family told me you work at a hog farm, you know, and then you said you might need some help. Yeah, I don't know how long I'm gonna be here. Rumor is I might just be here a couple weeks. All I have to do is I really just have to film them hanging the downed sows. A downed sow is a sow that can't walk under her own weight. She's gotten sick or she's injured, and so a way to just kill them off is they apparently drag them out, put a chain around their neck, and then they hang them. They hang them by a chain that's connected to a front loader, which they raise up in the air. I've never heard of that. HFA's never heard of that, so this is a unique thing to this farm. So if I can document it, that's our best shot at being able to try and prosecute these people for animal cruelty. This was an important job, and the word was that if I cannot document these pigs being hanged to death, no one will ever be able to film it, and then how the hell are we going to get a cruelty conviction? So I felt like there was a lot riding on it, and I had to get it done. I went and I met Ken Wiles, who's the owner of the Wiles Hog Farm. You know, he said, yeah, he needs people. And so I said, I just need work, and I will bust my ass and do whatever he needs done. And I have a lot of experience working with animals. So the Wiles Hog Farm has about 6,000 pigs. So it's a large farm. Basically, their operation is to birth and raise the pigs, then send them off to become hogs ready for slaughter. They use gestation crates and farrowing crates, just like most other hog farms in America. Gestation crates are where sows are impregnated in those crates, and they're waiting while they're pregnant.
How do they know which ones are pregnant? How do you know on a pig? You just see on the belly?
All these are pregnant.
You can just tell on the belly?
Yeah.
They're totally confined, shoulder to shoulder, so they can't move for about, 113 to 116 days. If they lie down, they have to plop straight down. They're basically fucking cage crazy, like a dog spinning in circles, except they can't spin because they can't even turn around. Once they're about to give birth, they're moved to a farrowing crate. And a farrowing crate is slightly bigger. They cannot turn around in it, but the mother can lie on her side. But she can't get away from her piglets. So her nipples end up bleeding. And she gets covered in sores from rubbing up against the farrowing crate. And then, after 2 to 3 weeks of having those piglets, they're ready to be weaned from their mothers. We grab them, and then we throw them off into this bin. It's this little wheeled bin with a scale on it to weigh them, and it says weigh pig on the side. The way to do it that they decided was to grab them by their legs or their ears sometimes and just throw them. You can hear them screaming. crate, they bounce off the sides of it, sometimes hit the floor. So they pile up on each other so that, I mean, there's several pigs on top of each other.
I actually saw sows that had their babies taken away, and most of those sows died. They refused to eat or get up after those babies were taken away. They would try to bite you through the bars as you grab their babies. They tried to protect them. They have instincts just like a mother's going to protect her baby.
And eventually they'd get moved off and then thrown off into a school bus. I don't know why they chose to use a school bus. I guess they just needed something big to fill with as many pigs as possible to move to other barns for them to grow more away from their mothers.
Start chunking them in.
So they'd sometimes land on their heads and bounce and get back up. Once the pigs are big enough, they're then moved out so they can be sent off for finishing and get big enough for slaughter. And it got really brutal. I mean, it's just like a traffic jam of pigs. Everything was brutal. Everything. You know, I was using a covert camera for video to get almost all the evidence that I obtained. But in addition, I was constantly taking pictures with a still camera. Sometimes Ingrid would be like a lookout. She'd watch, make sure no one's coming. I'd snap a bunch of photographs. And sure enough, I see a pig and she's got her head stuck in between the bars of her crate and there's blood coming out of her mouth. So I made sure that the employee was nowhere that he could see me. I ran down there so that if he walked after me, I'd have time on him. Took the photograph, and then I ran back to try and catch him in time so he wouldn't be wondering where the fuck I was.
Hey, yo. Hey, yo. Sorry to leave you that shit. I'm gonna need a hand. Huh? There's fucking pig has got her head stuck in the bars.
Up there?
Yeah. There we go. Right there. Yeah. We'll see. I'll see if she's still like that when we come back. Maybe she'll have gotten herself loose or something.
Probably gonna die anyhow.
Oh, yeah?
If she bleeds so bad.
Yeah.
The conditions at the Wiles hog farm were pretty bad. There's a lot of jagged metal inside the farrowing crates. Huge piles of manure just stacked up in standing water, you know, underneath some of the sows. And that left a lot of the pigs and piglets sick. Some of them develop infections or they become injured. Some of them are born deformed. And those are not ones that they can make any money off of. They call them junk pigs, and they just cull them out. They kill them. The standard practice of killing them is thumping them. And thumping is where you grab them by the backs of the legs and you swing them and smash their heads onto the floor, and sometimes you have to do it over and over to kill them.
I'm telling your dad, that's what I'll do.
So one day, you know, sure enough, we were throwing pigs into a school bus to move them to a different site, and we had a couple pigs that were junk pigs.
We got some skinnies in here, skinny. Those pigs aren't even close to being... What? This one is? Those two are, yes. Why does it seem so hairy? I don't know. You're the one that's been doing it since you were a little kid.
Joe Wiles was the oldest son, and he worked at the farm the most out of anyone at the family.
Now, what's wrong with him? Look at him. Look at his leg. Look at him.
He's fucked up, dude.
That's my pet. That's my new pet. Yep, that's my new pet. I ain't fucking. Why would I take a stupid little pig? You think I'm serious? Man, that's kind of cool, man.
Oh shit, he did it in one hit? Kind of. Almost did it in one hit. Oh, okay.
One of the workers made a complaint and said that he thinks it's cruel to do that. So Joe's solution to that was to take the next piglet out that had to die out into the yard and bash its skull in with a hammer.
What's he doing?
Really kill that one. He's gonna bash its head in.
Why not do it here?
I don't know, that's fucked up. I don't know. I hate seeing it. Because they do it in such a mean way.
What else are you gonna do?
Shoot the motherfucker.
Oh, put a bullet in him? Yeah.
I don't ever do that.
Yeah, why don't they do that?
Cheaper to do it this way. That's my ass. Sick fucker. All part of life. Well, I'm fucking with you, Joe. You think I'm serious? I can give a shit less. Because I hate pigs. So do I. I hate them bad. They're fucking
So that's typical, you know, hog farm protocol and how you kill pigs, and it's done all the time. All the dead pigs at the farm were taken out and dumped into a giant pit dug in the ground. They were basically just thrown out there and left out in the open until there would become so many that then they would just pile over them with dirt. You could see very clearly, looking at it, it kind of represents what these animals are to them. They're just trash. They're discarded, they're thrown away. If they're not useful enough to be meat, they go down in the pit.
How you doing? Oh, pigs, dead pigs.
Where are they?
I just dumped them out back.
Oh, in that hole?
Yeah.
A lot of piglets getting sick and dying, you know, throwing the pigs around. All these things which, they seem terrible to me, but, you know, they're probably minor in the eyes of the law, and the local cops aren't going to care. So there's only one thing that is atrocious enough to make the cops care, and that is that they're hanging these crippled sows to death with chains from a front loader. And that is our one shot to get a cruelty conviction and try and get some justice done on this farm. I was there for 6 weeks, and I'm basically just waiting to get that. I got everything documented, and I've shown clearly how things are done at the farm. But I started to get concerned that maybe I wouldn't be able to document the hanging. There's several pens there at the primary farm where they're just full of all these downed sows, and some of them are starting to die on their own, and we're wondering, is this gonna happen? A lot of hogs, they become sick or injured to the point where they cannot stand on their own. When that happens, they're called downers. And there were always downers on the farm. They would either be left in a pen so that they would then be picked on and cannibalized by the other hogs in the pen, or they would be thrown into what were called junk pens, where all the downers and seriously injured pigs are just thrown and given no veterinary care of any kind.
What's the nastiest thing you've ever seen here?
Pig eating another pig.
Oh, yeah? How often does that happen?
It's when they die. Fucking nasty.
In a confined environment, especially if a pig develops a sore, other pigs will start to pick on it, and then they'll cannibalize them, and they'll basically eat them to death while they're alive. That's something that happens with a lot of animals that are stuck in confinement. When there was a lot of downed sows in one place and they were just kind of piling up, that's when they would go to hang them. And as the weeks go by, we're waiting to see if they're going to do a hanging. We can't tell them to do it, we can't entice them to do it, but we just have to wait and see. One day, for some reason that probably I'll never know, they decide that Joe Wiles is going to round up all the employees, including myself, and we're then going to start hanging hogs. We grabbed the crippled sows by their legs, even if their legs were broken and bleeding, because they couldn't stand on their own power. And we would use these catch poles, like these metal loops that we'd wrap around them, drag them out screaming. Dump them off a 4-foot ledge into the snow. Then they would immediately put a chain around their necks, raise up the front loader, and hang them to death. And it would take about 4 to 5 minutes for them to stop kicking and thrashing. And everyone would kind of stop working, just stand there and watch it. People were laughing because Ingrid had come up and had complained to Joe, and people were kind of laughing at her. It's definitely one of the most cruel things that I've ever done in my life. And it was something that I will never forget. You know, but to the rest of these guys, it seemed to be no big fucking deal. It was a bad day. I mean, it was the best day for the investigation because that's what I was there to get, but it was a bad day.
For them to stand there and do it and still not feel anything. I mean, that's, you know, what kind of people are they?
You go stand around and watch a bunch of good old boys laugh while they hang a fucking pig and see if you don't care.
And each of these pigs, it's amazing. They're just like people. They have their own personalities, and nobody takes the time to know that. They just say, you know, but I like pork. You know, I get so sick of hearing that. Well, that pig likes living too, and would like to have a life and be out in the grass and not on concrete and waste and smelling its own waste and ammonia and stuff, you know, I mean, and being brutalized and then killed and eaten. That pig wants to live, just like everybody else.
I've gotten the hanging on tape. That was the prime objective. That's done. That is the biggest piece of evidence for animal cruelty that we have. And then it's time for me to leave. You know, I leave smooth on this one, tell them I'm taking off to get another job. They could give a fuck. I gave all the evidence to the Humane Farming Association. They compiled everything into a very detailed report and show every instance of every piece of cruelty or violation at the farm that there could possibly be.
We had hours and hours of videotape. We edited that down to about an hour. We pulled photographs from the video, the way they would throw the pigs around, how they would shock them excessively. If animals were becoming ill, they would just leave them there even though they couldn't access food.
What set the Wiles Farm apart was the apparent glee to which some of these people were abusing these animals. The fact that they would be laughing and joking as they're kicking them, as they're slamming them against the wall. We spent several weeks going through the Ohio animal cruelty laws and building a case that we could present to a prosecutor. Generally speaking, local prosecutors do not want to go after agricultural facilities, so we knew the case had to be flawless.
I think it went well. They said they're going out there right away, and they're going to take pictures and document as much as they can, and we'll go from there. He seemed very upset about the petition, concerned about the animals.
But instead, they stalled for probably about a month and a half before they actually executed the search warrant.
The sheriff's department, when I was talking to one of their detectives, he was very reluctant to do this case at all. Until I made the analogy, I said, what if you were driving by in your patrol car by the park here and kids were stringing up dogs in the park? Would you just drive by and say, this is okay? He stopped and paused and he said, yeah, I didn't think about it this way. I guess we should do something at least. I think that's the biggest problem, is that people haven't evolved their compassion for farm animals.
Our Humane Society is down in there from what I've heard, and with deputies and veterinarians.
How do you treat them?
As humanely as possible. Everything, how we euthanize our animals, has been taken off the PETA website. The People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, everything we do is through their guidelines.
In 3, 2, 1. And
And once the authorities executed the search warrant at the Wiles home and the barns behind his home, they came to other locations, other properties he owns, including this one that houses, for the most part, piglets. Mr. Wiles, are any of these allegations true? Could we give you your fair shake here and hear from you briefly? I definitely want to put your side in here. Can we talk with you? Thought he was coming to talk. You okay? Can we talk with you? See you later, thanks, buddy. Any of the allegations about the animals true? Do you abuse them?
We have to hope that in a rural county, there's going to be justice for these hogs that are considered a means for money rather than living beings that deserve to have the right to avoid suffering. She likes to just come up to you and then just stick her head against you and like she's hiding and just sit there and get petted, or she likes to roll over and just get petted. Yeah, it's a good girl. There you go. Yeah, it's the family pet. It's a sweet little girl. She was a stray. I found her on the street, and she was terrified of men. She'd shake for months. She won't eat her food unless someone's there with her. My parents give her nothing but love. Apparently, you know, she was even scared of my dad forever. He would do nothing but pet her and love her, but she was just terrified of men. That stopped, and then eventually she started begging for food. She'd put her front paws up on a chair and look at us. She'd want something, and we were happy that she knew she could do that. So she's coming out of her shell. It's taken a long time, but she's coming out of it. Okay, come on, let's go over here. Come on, here we go. Yeah. Yeah, you're cute. When I was a kid, my best friend, sometimes my only friend, was my dog. My parents always treated him like he was another son. He was part of the family unit. One day it was just brought up to me that I should consider things from the animal's point of view, and I really stopped and I thought about that. I thought, I always do that with my dog. Why aren't I doing that with the animals that I eat? You know, why aren't I thinking what it's like for the chicken or the pig or the cow going to the slaughterhouse? And what is the difference between them and my dog? And one is lucky enough to be born an animal in our culture that is considered a companion animal. The other's unlucky enough to be born what we call food. But what if I was in another country? You know, what if I was in the Philippines? My dog would be food. I decided I should respect all life the same. Because if I wouldn't want to hurt a friend of mine, I wouldn't want to hurt my dog. I shouldn't hurt any of these other animals as well. Well, you know, a common argument you hear is, well, there's horrible things that are happening to people. Why not focus on people issues? And the only response to that is that those deserve attention too. I pick this. You know, I choose to help animals because the animals cannot defend themselves. They can't speak up for themselves. Somebody has to do it for them. Somebody also has to help out other people. But this is the fight that I pick. There's a lot of different evils that exist in the world, but to animals, it happens on a mass scale. I have made a conscious decision that I put the animals before myself. It makes me very often a lonely person. It is a lonely fucking life. You're either out in the middle of nowhere somewhere working undercover with a bunch of people that you hate, or even if you do make friends out there and some people treat you well, That's it. You're not going to be able to stay in touch with them and say, hey, it's me, this is what I was really doing, this is why I had to lie to you. You just fucking split. And that piece of your life is gone. And it's gone forever, and you're never going to get it back. When you're out on the road a lot, you just spend all your time in motel rooms, and you know, your only friend is whoever's on TV that night. I have no relationship with anyone. I just don't have time to deal with someone who has important problems, but, you know, I have to work. You know, when I was out at the hog farm, I mean, I'm dealing with things that are they're very emotionally demanding, you know, for me. So I cut off my emotions. And so when I do that, I am not the most sensitive person on earth. I'm really kind of an asshole. I mean, everything just gets brushed aside, and I don't care. I just run on autopilot. And living a lifestyle like that long enough just eventually I guess just kind of ate me up. There was a period where I went through what a friend who's a psychology student said was depression-induced insomnia. I mean, I could not sleep at night. Everything that I'm normally motivated to do, you can't stop me from doing, I didn't give a shit about. That included work, that included all the personal things that I enjoy doing. I tried to make a relationship go on and date someone, and it just fell apart quicker than anything. This job becomes you. You eat it, you sleep it, you breathe it. It's the first thing you think about when you wake up. It's the last thing you think about when you go to bed. It's everything. And then you got to go back out on the road and you got to go do it again. And that is life. And that's just the way it is in this line of work.
Channel 3 News has learned that a special prosecutor is investigating allegations of animal abuse on a large hog farm in Northeast Ohio.
The investigation was started after undercover video was taken on the farm. The Humane Farming Association, a nonprofit group that investigates animal abuse, provided the video to authorities.
When a special prosecutor saw them, he called it cruelty to animals.
The footage to me was very disturbing and very disgusting. The hanging of the pig with the forklift, to me, was the thing that really upset me the most. And I went down to Worcester to the court and have filed 10 counts of criminal charges in this case. All 10 charges are cruelty to animal charges. 5 charges against the general manager of the farm, Joe Wiles.
Carries up to 6 months in jail, up to a $1,000 fine, or both.
2 charges against the owner, Ken Wiles, and 2 charges against a employee, Dusty Stroud.
After all pleading not guilty, Ken Wiles, his son Joe, and their employee, Dusty Stroud, got in a truck and left.
We look forward to our date and time in court. Thank you very much.
Mr. Piselli, would you like to say anything to the media at all?
Yeah, we're looking forward to our day in court. Thank you very much.
Did you say that to me again? I'm sorry.
Sorry. We're looking forward to our day in court. Thank you.
I don't anticipate charging anyone else out of this case. That can always change if we see evidence. That can always change if we see evidence that wasn't presented before.
That a surprise to you?
Not one bit. We know what we're into, but we're just here to do the right thing and do the best that we can.
I rely on something my father told me as a boy. No matter what you do, no matter what facts are there, one thing doesn't change. What's right is right, and what's wrong is wrong. And in this particular case, from looking at how these animals were treated, I think it's wrong. Someone has to speak up for the voiceless. Pigs can't tell anybody they're being mistreated. The pigs can't tell anyone it's inappropriate that we're being hung. At this point, it seems like the only person that can stand up for them is me. Defense has taken the jury demand off. Does that change the nature of how we want to try this case?
I think at the last pretrial, the judge indicated when they said they had 12 witnesses,
yeah.
He said, I'm not going to let you call, or I think they said 20, or I'm not going to let you call 20 straight people to say the same thing, so he's definitely not going to let them call 50.
They gave us 50 to try to intimidate us, to just try to jack us around. I mean, what are these witnesses going to say when we show them this footage? I mean, the pig's struggling for their life. I mean, what are these witnesses going to say? This is your puppy. I mean, you're going to go through this with witness number 2, right? We're going to put him on the stand. You know, tell him he doesn't have to wear a 3-piece suit. But I don't want him coming in like he's, you know, I saw some detective movie, Sharky, the other night, where he's got sunglasses and, you know, a plaid shirt. You know, they can make an argument that all this evidence is done sneaky. You know what I mean? It's all being done undercover. We want him to just come in as a regular guy. Here's what happened, a good presentation, and put the judge in a position where the judge has got to look at him and think, boy, this is a very credible guy.
Do you have any questions or any concerns about forwarding these, because they've already have been? Do you think there's anything in there that I should be concerned about, any issues about what you did in your field notes?
Absolutely nothing. As I was typing them, I was trying to type them as detailed as I could, thinking if this goes to court, this is what I want.
That's great.
And that was it.
You know, it comes down to credibility. It comes down to what this judge is going to believe. Does he believe you?
Everything I know about court, I learned from watching Law & Order, okay? That's my deal.
Some of that's good, some of that's bad.
Yeah, and so I have this idea in my head that what's going to happen is they're going to say, you participated in these things, and you're saying we neglected all these animals, but hell, you neglected them and you didn't bring it to our attention either, right? And I can imagine someone on Law & Order saying, you did not instruct me to bring any of this to your attention, you did not instruct me in any animal welfare practices, and I was working undercover in that capacity. I mean, is that a good enough answer? Or?
I think it is. You know, It boils down to whether this judge thinks hanging these pigs is bad. I mean, that's it. He's a farmer. He's told us that he's a farmer. It's a rural community. So, you know, we're not friendly faces down there. I know we've talked about security. I know we've talked about your appearance. To me, like I said, it boils down to 1 or 2 scenes on the video. What helps the case in my eyes is you just say it, but then we show it to him. I mean, here's what it is. Explain. I mean, that's what it is.
The crimes in this case have taken place at the Wiles Farm. And to understand how the Wiles Farm is operated, Ken Wiles is the owner, his son Joe Wiles is the manager, and the third defendant, Dusty Stroud, was an employee. The evidence is going to show that Joe Wiles and Dusty Stroud were dragging pigs, putting them on a forklift, raising them up, putting a chain around the neck, and were hanging the pigs. The evidence is going to show that Ken Wiles stated, "Why can't we hang hogs anymore? Don't they still hang people in Utah?" And that's the count of torturing an animal.
Your Honor, this case is actually about an animal rights group from California coming to Wayne County, Ohio, trying to tell us how to run our farms. It's that simple. As you will hear, the Humane Farming Association, also known as the HFA, set up an undercover operative at the Wiles family farm. And the purpose for that undercover operative, who was going to be the state's primary witness, was to obtain footage that would advance the agenda of the HFA.
You know, the prosecution has gone on its way to talk about being the voice for the voiceless.
they're going to get an education about farming. Parts of it aren't pretty. I'm not going to say that it is, but growing up on a farm never was, never has been. It's hard work. And you have to make decisions that most folks don't even know about, but they're legal decisions.
The court's going to find that Joe Wiles was not reckless in his conduct. His actions do not fit the definition of cruelty to animals, and the court will find Joe Wiles not guilty of all counts.
Sean, call your first witness, please.
You solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this case shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do. Thank you.
Proceed, counsel.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning. Would you please state your name, spell it for the record, sir?
John Nolt, John. My last name is Knoldt.
Is that your current legal name, sir?
Yes, it is.
Have you had a previous name?
Yes, sir.
Why'd you change it?
I changed it for job security. I've done a variety of undercover investigations, and I decided that to be able to continue to do investigations and to keep security for myself and my family, I needed to have a legal name change.
You indicated you do some undercover work. Is that your primary occupation?
That is my sole occupation, yes, sir.
And how many times have you done this in the past, sir?
Undercover employment, I believe I have done it 7 times.
Does that take you from state to state throughout the country?
Yes, sir.
How did you first become aware of the operation at the Wiles Farm here in Worcester?
I heard about the Wiles Farm through Bob Baker with the Humane Farming Association.
Do you work for Humane Farming Association?
No, I'm self-employed.
Let's get this out in the open. How much did they pay you?
$2,400, $400 a week for 6 weeks of work.
Did you ever use the name John Nolt while you worked at the Wiles Farm?
No, sir.
Did you contact them via phone, or did you show up at the property? Did you answer an ad in the paper? What did you do?
No, I showed up at their residence on Steiner Road and spoke to Ken Wiles directly. And I met with him twice.
Why didn't you just tell him you're going to come out and film him and report back to the Humane Farming Association?
Because then they wouldn't have hired me and I wouldn't have documented cruelty to animals.
March 14th, the year 2006. You were working that day?
Yes, sir.
Wearing video equipment?
Yes, sir.
Equipped to record video and audio images?
My microphone was broken, so I was not recording audio.
Your Honor, with the court's permission, at this time I'd like to show the images from March 14th that I believe our witness has identified that he captured on his video. With respect to the hanging, you indicated you looked at your watch. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And why did you do that?
To time how long it took for the sow that I observed being hanged to finally stop kicking and to be what looked to me dead.
And how long did that take?
About 4 to 5 minutes.
Do you see the individual that raised that skid loader resulting in hanging? You see him here in the courtroom today?
Yes, sir.
Please point to him and identify an article of clothing and possibly a seating position based on
Yes,
the
sir.
number
It's
of
Dusty
people.
Stroud sitting next to Ken Wiles in a black suit with a blue shirt and red tie.
Who put the chain around that pig's neck?
Joe Wiles.
With respect to Joe Wiles, you captured video of pigs being thrown. Is that the term?
That's the term that I used, yes, sir. On a variety of days, the pigs would be thrown into metal bins or into school buses or out of pens onto the floor by grabbing their ears, their legs, and then throwing them onto the ground or into those bins or school buses by as far away as up to 6 feet.
you have the opportunity to observe some sows in particular barns that were dead?
Yes, sir. There were a lot of sows that I observed that would get thinner and thinner and thinner as time would go by.
What would it have taken to feed and water a downed pig?
You'd have to hand feed them. You'd have to lift their head up and then pour water into their mouth or put food into their mouth and try and get them to swallow.
Did you ever do that?
No, sir.
Did you ever see anybody at the farm ever do that?
No, sir.
Did you see Joe Wiles do that ever?
No, sir.
Did you see Ken Wiles feed a pig or water a pig by hand ever?
No, sir.
No further questions. No.
Yes, sir.
Fair to say that when you went onto the Wiles property, your sole purpose was to obtain footage of the Wiles operation?
Yes, sir.
And obviously you did that without their permission or consent?
Yes, sir.
Did it bother you that you were telling lies to people?
Well, it bothers me as much as...
My question is, did it bother you that you were lying to people?
Yes, sir. At times.
And you know that's not a good thing to do, to lie, to misrepresent.
It's not illegal, sir.
It's not illegal?
No, sir.
How long have you been doing this?
Over 5 years.
This is what you do for your sole source of income?
Yes, sir.
So how much do you make a year doing this?
$12,000 net.
You testified that this hog moved for 4 or 5 minutes in your testimony, right?
Yes, sir.
Fair to say that you have no training or no ability to determine when the animal has actually died?
For the past 5 years that I've been doing this job, I've seen a lot of animals killed in a lot of different ways, and that's the only training that I have.
Are you familiar with the term involuntary reflex?
Yes, sir.
And you're aware of the fact that an animal may be dead and still move?
Yes, sir.
Just like a chicken. You cut its head off, it's dead, but it keeps on moving.
Well, yes, sir. I mean, that fact is true.
Do you have a bachelor's degree in animal husbandry?
No, sir.
You're just an animal rights investigator.
That's correct, yes, sir.
If you get a complaint, you grab your camera and stuff and then go and infiltrate farms where you think there might be a problem. Is that right?
That's the sum of it, yes, sir.
Okay.
Now, did you have a mustache and a beard when you were working out on the farm?
Yes, sir, but different from this.
Different from this? Is this a makeup setup? So this is not a real mustache you're wearing, is it?
No, sir.
This is not a real beard you're wearing?
No, sir.
So you're traveling in a disguise today as you sit here?
Well, there is a video camera filming me, sir. Yes, sir.
Are you an individual who believes in animal rights?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Are you what they call an animal rights activist?
No, sir. I'm, to be very technical, I'm what they call an animal rights investigator.
Would it surprise you to learn that hogs are referred to in the collective as hogs? And when you refer to pigs, you're talking about piglets. Would that surprise you?
I did not know that, sir.
Are you aware that after you left the Wiles farm, you seem to have a decrease in the morbidity rate?
No, sir, I'm not aware of that.
One of you could have taken the food can and put food in it and helped them out, right?
Yes, sir, I could have.
But you never did that, did you?
No, sir, I was never instructed to.
Regardless of whether you were instructed to or not, on your own, you could have gone over and have helped that animal, and you didn't. Isn't that right?
Neither did anyone else. Yes, sir, that's correct.
You didn't, did you?
No, sir, I was never told there were food pans for downed animals.
So when you testified earlier that there were food pans there, were you mistaken, sir?
Sir, I never testified there were food pans for downed animals.
You don't recall that testimony?
I do not recall that testimony.
Thank you very much. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Might be appropriate time to break.
I lived on a dairy farm, run a dairy farm for 50 years, and these are normal things that happen. I don't think, we can have these type of people come in here and destroy our business. And I think there's going to come a day if these type of people come in and do what they're doing, we're going to be hungry. There's not going to be no food. Because these people strictly don't want meat. And we can't all eat lettuce.
This is completely different than I thought it would be because I always thought that the evidence would speak for itself. And then once the evidence speaks for itself, I mean, it's very clear what's going on. But it's not. There's all these rules that we have to go by. And so it's really like playing with a whole bunch of rules. It's like playing a game in there. I thought if I get the video footage of people committing cruelty to animals, it'll be obvious and that's it. And it's not.
You solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this case should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do. Lieutenant, you remember asking about protocols with respect to euthanasia on the farm?
Yes, I did ask that question, and Ken's response was no. We hang ourselves like they do people in Utah. We have been doing this for 40 years or since I was 15 years old.
Now, when did you first go to the Wiles farm to perform any type of investigation? Do you recall?
I believe it was November the 9th, to investigate allegations that sows were being euthanized by hanging.
I'm going to show you what's marked as State's Exhibit number 13. And I'm going to ask you to take a minute and ask you, do you recognize that?
Yes, I do recognize it. That is a summary paper of the standards published by the American Association of Swine Veterinarians.
Are you familiar with the euthanasia standards?
Yes. The concern is to be as painless as possible and as quickly inducing coma as possible.
When you spoke with Ken Wiles, did he describe to you what type of euthanasia was being done on that farm?
He acknowledged that they euthanized sows by hanging them. They also used a sharp blow on baby pigs, which is appropriate, even though on DVD many people would be shocked by that procedure.
Under those national standards, is hanging pigs something that's recognized or deemed to be proper?
No, it is not.
And do you believe that's animal cruelty?
Objection. Overruled.
Do you believe that's animal cruelty?
Yes, I do. And I consider that abhorrent.
I don't have anything further.
Euthanasia, it's a necessary part of any livestock operation, isn't it?
That's true.
I'm referring you to State's Exhibit number 13. This is the pamphlet known as On-Farm Euthanasia for Swine Options for the Producer. Now it lists a number of different options for a producer, correct?
Yes.
But it doesn't tell you what you're not allowed to do, does it?
No.
Now, you also saw the footage in which a sow was being hanged, right?
Yes.
And you found that to be offensive, didn't you?
Yes.
Okay. But the sow that was being hanged, it was a down sow, wasn't it?
Yes.
So that animal had to be euthanized somehow, correct?
That's true.
You just disagreed with the method used on that tape, correct?
That's true.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Doctor, did you, in your review of the video footage, see a scene whereby pigs are being loaded from different parts of the farm into crates and thrown into them?
Yes.
Did it constitute cruelty from the standpoint of the type of thing that you say you saw in the hanging of the...
I don't know what the law's definition of cruelty is, but I consider that cruelty as a veterinarian.
How you doing?
Not bad. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
You did everything you could ask. I loved how you did yes, sir, no, sir. You conceded the things you had to concede, and they didn't know what to do with you. Russ just kept spinning himself into areas that I'm not sure where he was going, and I thought you did great.
Thanks.
Okay, buddy.
I appreciate it.
We're fighting for you.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Your stuff, right?
Yeah, we'll grab
Yeah.
your stuff.
Yeah.
And then we'll call you as soon as we get a verdict. We'll call you.
Okay, great. Have a good one, y'all.
All right, buddy.
Hey,
Take
thank
care.
you. Yeah.
See you around.
We're hoping when this judge goes home and watches the whole thing, when he watches the overcrowding and the condition that they're living in, that he's going to be convinced that this is just animal cruelty.
It's just a commodity to him. It's not a living creature. It's just a commodity. It's just a good.
Right.
And that's what bothers me the most. It's just, it's an animal, and they say pigs are smarter than dogs, and I have 2 dogs, and I just think it's disgusting just the complete lack of respect for life in any capacity.
The judge called all the attorneys in at the end of the day to kind of get a feel. So I tend to think there'll be a decision tomorrow, and hopefully it'll be a good decision for us.
The ball's in their court now. We just kind of have to react to what they say and see what their expert says. That's what it comes down to. Like I said, if they take the stand, then, it changes our strategy. Defendants don't have to take the stand, obviously, so we'll see how it goes. Yeah, we're feeling pretty good.
sound like where the testimony you're about to give in this case should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Yes, sir.
State's Exhibit 13. Have you ever seen that before?
I have seen it before, yes, sir.
All right. What is State's Exhibit 13?
It's the pamphlet that was done in concert of the American Association of Swine Veterinarians and the National Pork Board to create some guidelines or options for producers to euthanize pigs.
And is it fair to say that's exactly what those are, options?
Yes, sir. They are options.
Guidelines.
Guidelines.
All right. What are the options that are listed in that book?
The options are 6: carbon dioxide, gunshot, captive bolt, electrocution, anesthetic overdose, and blunt trauma.
Now, as far as gunshot is concerned, what are the pros? What are the cons?
The pros are that it does accomplish brain damage to cause the animal to have brain death. The cons are that adult animals that have fairly hard skulls, on occasion, those animals are not, the skull is not penetrated by a single gunshot. The animal can be flopping around, moving. Discharging a firearm inside of a concrete building is somewhat scary, especially if the projectile even goes through the animal or ricochets off. That's a terrible danger to staff. The other situation is with gunshot, you're attempting to literally blow their brains out. It is very messy.
And you're also aware of the means that my client was using out there on the Wiles farm, correct?
Yes.
I want to ask if you have an opinion as to whether or not that means of euthanization is torture or animal cruelty. Do you have that opinion?
Yes, sir.
What is that opinion?
My opinion is that the method of using asphyxia via strangulation, as was seen, that's not torture. The brain may already be stopping activity, but the oxygenation of the blood that's still in the body is providing for muscle activity. And so the animal can be appearing to be flailing around, even though the brain is dead.
Is it possible for this movement to last for some 4, 5, or 6 minutes?
Easily several minutes, yes, sir.
And with regard to the carrying and conveying of animals, did the movement of those pigs meet the definition of carrying or conveying in a cruel or an inhumane manner?
No, sir.
Did the movement meet the definition of carrying in a humane and proper manner?
Yes, sir.
Have you ever been involved providing euthanasia, as according to this booklet?
Am I providing euthanasia to farms?
Yeah.
I do that on occasion, yes, sir.
And what method do you use? I'm just curious.
If I'm collecting tissues from pigs, I choose to use the injection method.
I'm going to ask you to look at this clip real quick. Does that pig appear to be suffering?
I don't know whether it's suffering or not.
Well, you're here testifying as an expert. Is that pig suffering?
Tell me what the pig was before it came to this state.
It's not my question to you, sir. You're watching that video.
Objection.
Overruled, Counselor.
You're watching this video, sir. You saw that pig being hung and that pig being struggling. Was that pig suffering?
I can't determine if it was suffering because we just can't tell very easily on that definition.
Is that a proper method of providing euthanasia?
If it is accomplishing asphyxia in a very short time period, yes, sir.
Just from what you observed, was that proper manner to provide euthanasia?
Objection.
Counsel, overruled. You've had plenty of latitude, counsel, to ask you questions. The same is being accorded to the state in cross-examining your witness.
Understood. Thank you, Your Honor.
Restate your question.
Yes, sir. Is that a proper manner of euthanasia?
Yes, sir.
It was that animal suffering?
I don't think it was.
You don't think what we just watched, that animal was suffering?
No, sir.
Okay. Do you think that's the best method to minimize the pain for that animal?
In this case, it very well might be.
Yes or no? That's all I'm asking you, sir. There wasn't a better way than that?
I don't know what the status of the animal was prior to it going to there.
then how can you give an expert opinion today? At least I thought I heard you on direct examination say this is a proper way to provide euthanasia.
I did, sir, in a general sense, not specifically on this animal because I do not know this animal's status.
Okay, so you cannot provide this court an expert opinion regarding whether this was the proper manner to provide euthanasia on this animal as you see in this footage. Is that my understanding, sir?
On this specific
Yes,
animal? Yes, sir.
Fair enough. Lastly, the court asked Dr. Sanders whether tossing these pigs from crate to crate was animal cruelty. Dr. Sanders' opinion, as I recall yesterday, is that it is animal cruelty. Do you agree with that opinion?
Not according to the definition I had, that cruelty it doesn't meet that in my opinion.
Your opinion. Thank you for your opinions.
You solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this case should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. I do.
You've seen a bunch of images flashed up here on this screen, have you not?
Yes.
You make management decisions on your farm.
Yes.
How do you feel as it relates to your management decisions in light of the testimony you've heard so far?
Well, it makes me look like a pretty shabby operator.
Are you?
No.
Please tell the court why you utilize that means of euthanasia.
We used that method because it was quick, it was efficient, it rendered the sow unconscious, and it was safe. Above all, it was safe for the operator.
Ever been injured as a result of using gunshot?
Yes, I've had one ricochet back up, went right through the sow, came back and hit me in the leg.
Any of your family present when that happened?
Yes, some of the boys.
How far away were they when this occurred?
10 feet.
Bullet could have just easily hit them.
Yes.
Talk about the movement of the pigs on the farm. In your way of thinking, is that torture?
I wouldn't do it if it were torture. This is my only income. If I lost pig one during a weaning, it would be too many. These pigs have a value. It's the only value. The only way I make a living is moving these pigs on through. That pig is not going to be abused.
With that, Your Honor, nothing further this witness.
Now, you had a veterinarian, correct?
I have a veterinarian.
All right. Are you aware that she indicated to the Humane Society that she's never seen a pig hung like what was going on in your farm in 21 years?
No, I'm not aware of that.
Did you ever discuss with this veterinarian euthanasia procedures?
No.
You didn't think that was important?
I didn't think it was important.
You gave a statement to the sheriff, correct?
I made a statement.
In this statement, you said, we hang our sows like they do people in Utah. What do you mean by that?
It was a mistake. It was state of Washington.
Oh, so instead of Utah...
Instead of Utah, it was Washington.
What do you mean by that?
I mean, we put a chain around their neck and asphyxiate the animal as quickly and painlessly as we can.
You, at this point, don't even mention that the animals are any consideration, do you?
Let me set the scene.
No, you have to answer the question, sir. In this statement that you gave, it does not mention in your plan or your process any consideration of the animals, does it?
No.
It only talks about we want to hang them like they do people in Utah or Washington, correct?
I was trying to make it so the layman could understand it.
Do you have any concerns for the animals when you run
Yes,
this
they're
farm?
my only income.
But do you have any concerns for them? The pain that they're suffering or anything like that?
My pigs aren't suffering pain, sir.
They're not suffering pain?
No.
When we watched that pig being hung, you don't think that pig was suffering in any way, shape, or form?
Sir.
Overruled.
Do you agree that that animal was suffering as that animal was being hung?
We euthanize our animals in the most efficient and painless way that we can.
I'm going to ask you that question again. Was that animal suffering, sir?
Have you ever seen a pig shot?
Not my question to you. Was that animal suffering?
Not to my knowledge.
I don't have anything further.
I think after hearing all the testimony over the last 2 days, Everybody understands that euthanasia is necessary, and unfortunately, no matter what method is utilized, it's unpleasant.
We've all watched this tape. We've all watched these pictures. And this is not the proper way to provide euthanasia.
We're not talking about Wilbur or Charlotte's Web. We're not talking about Disney animals. We're not talking about pets. We're talking about livestock. Livestock that is a business for these people.
They talk about options as far as euthanasia, not laws, not rules.
There is no statute on the books anywhere with respect to euthanization of animals in a production facility.
All animals are rendered insensible to pain by a single blow or gunshot or an electrical, chemical, or other means that is rapid and effective before being shackled, hoisted, thrown, cast, or cut.
That statute specifically refers to slaughtering. Slaughtering is the processing of animals, livestock, for meat. Okay? That's slaughtering. We're talking about euthanasia.
There must be a showing that there was the reckless infliction of pain or suffering on an animal where such acts are not necessary for regular animal husbandry.
Clearly, Your Honor, it is torturing an animal. I mean, the guidelines talk about getting to the head of the animal, firing a shot.
Any veterinarian in the entire United States cannot come in here and definitively state that this method causes any more pain or is any less effective than any of the other means.
Have we had any testimony that says what is the quickest way to euthanize a sow?
I think that's what Dr. Sanders was talking about. His testimony was that 4 or 5 minutes constitutes animal cruelty.
We hear from a guy who says that, yeah, by golly, he's an undercover agent for the animal rights groups. He's done it 7 times. Comes in here with a fake beard and goatee.
He's taken all this video when he's supposed to be working.
Pictures that he alone had control over.
Did any of this seem to bother him, appear to bother him? Not one bit.
And Your Honor, based on everything that we've provided to this court, we think we've met the element of these charges.
On each one of these charges, I would ask on behalf of my client the finding of not guilty.
Your Honor, Dusty Stroud is not guilty of this charge.
Based upon all the evidence presented, we don't feel or don't believe the state of Ohio has met its burden of proof in this matter, and we'd ask that Joe Wiles be acquitted of these charges.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, at this point in time, the court will take the matter under advisement. I will have a decision sometime today. I don't know when that'll be. I'm going to have to review a large number of documents as well as look at sections of the DVD, but I will have a decision on this case before court closes today. The court has reviewed both last evening and in the interim from the time we completed our closing arguments, the exhibits, including some other sections of the video, and I make the following decisions. As to the case against Kenneth Wiles, CRB 2007-10086, to the offense of cruelty to animals by not providing appropriate food and water, the court finds the defendant is not guilty of that offense as charged. As to the offenses against Joe Wiles, CRB 2007-1, cruelty to animals by improperly carrying or transporting said animals. The court finds the defendant is guilty of that offense as charged. As to the account in the same complaint, cruelty to animals by torture, the court finds the defendant is not guilty of that offense as charged. As to the count against Dusty Stroud, that being the remaining count of violation of cruelty to animals by torture, the court finds the defendant is not guilty of that offense as charged. Clearly, to my opinion, there's no easy, safe, economical way to euthanize an adult hog, and it's a difficult decision for the farmers to make. Disposing of the hog that was in the video was an attempt to alleviate pain and an animal that could not be saved. I find personally distasteful or offensive that in fact was done, but it seems that even the experts have no better way to offer, because it's totally unrealistic to have a vet come out all the time and administer chemicals, which seems to be the best way, but also the most expensive way to dispose of an animal. Mr. Wiles, is there anything that you would like to say?
No, Your Honor.
The sentence to the court will be a fine of $250 in costs. The defendant is placed on a community control sanction of basic probation for the period of 1 year, that he shall undergo a training program on humane handling and transporting of farm animals. Obviously, there needs to be some review and reformulation of policies in order to avoid this in the future. Anything further from you, the counsel?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
That'll be all.
Ken, what do you think of that verdict?
Excuse me, please. Thank you.
Camera?
Well, it's a camera, but who am I talking
Oh,
to?
for HBO.
Oh, for HBO? Well, I'd like to say thank you to the children, our 7 children. They've been very patient throughout this entire process. Made a lot of sacrifices. And thank my beautiful wife, too.
No
Have a good
comment
day.
on the verdict?
The judge has spoken. That's the best comment we can have. Thank you.
Most of us don't witness any kind of death. You know, we don't realize the trauma that goes on with animals or even people dying, and that it often is, it's not a pretty sight, no matter how humanely it's administered. When it comes to, you know, feeding people versus, you know, maximizing the quality of life for animals, it's a delicate balance. But in light of it all, their methods are as sound as any that were presented. I'm glad that the Wiles can continue to produce pork and that I can go home and enjoy a good pork loin sandwich.
We would love to got convictions on everybody on every count. We knew that wasn't going to happen, but we came down here, we made a statement, they were exposed, and we got a conviction. And that's all we can do is present the facts.
And for the judge to admit on the record that what he saw was offensive, I think speaks volumes for the practices down there. And the judge can't create law, and that's up to the legislature. And they need to redefine and reevaluate these terms for cruelty, and I'm sure that'll be coming.
I don't think they felt any prosecutors would have the guts to come down here and have the courage to file the charges and to give it the effort that we did. So we were walking out of here with conviction, with our heads held high, and I think a lot of people are going to be thrilled when they hear about this.
Well, we've been at this for over 20 years, so we look at it pretty realistically. And that's why, even though there was only one conviction in this case, it has to be viewed as progress. It has to be a vindication and a validation of undercover anti-cruelty investigations. There have been people all across the country that have seen this video footage. It has been a window into the daily operations of the pork industry in this country. the public is more sensitive to these issues. Where we haven't seen the change is in legislation. We haven't seen any meaningful legislation catch up with where public opinion and public morals are on this issue.
Okay, so there's me. It says that I testified about what I observed at the Ken Wiles hog farm near Creston. It says my current name. It says what my old name used to be. It says that I filmed alleged cruelty to the animals while working undercover at the farm. Now I gotta get another fucking name change. All of this is some fucker could get a $250 fine. That's disappointing, because that's not why I'm doing this. You know what? You walk in the rain, you get wet. You can't fucking work undercover and try and get press on issues without being exposed a little bit yourself. I'm used to getting a name change. I'm used to having to move from place to place. I'm used to getting my phone number changed. So fuck it. I'll just keep doing what I'm doing. I'll get another name change, get my number changed, and I'll go back to work.
Minnie, that's Minnie. Minnie. Gotta take turns. Yeah, it's nice. Wait, Katie. Wait your turn. Wait your turn. Sounds good, huh? Yeah, Minnie. Yeah, Minnie. Okay, one left free. There we go. There we go, they're all gone.
These are some of the pigs from the farm that I worked on. And they were rescued. You get attached and you don't want to see any of them die, but there's just too many to save all of them. And I just got the few that I could, but there's thousands more there that need saving.
I think if more people saw pigs like this and farm animals like this, a lot less people eating them, that's for sure.
Went on that farm never realizing what they were like, and
This changed everything. Changed my whole life, didn't you?
I'll have to bite you.
There's no eating the visitors, right?
I know the workers used to say a lot that they were ugly, and I don't think they're ugly at all. I think they're cute. So it's just a matter of people getting to know them, getting to know that they have personalities, and you know, they're not just a piece of pork. Huh. I guess they think of you as another one of the pigs.
Chunking them in. So they'd sometimes land on their heads and bounce and get back up. Once the pigs are big enough, they're then moved out so they can be sent off for finishing and get big enough for slaughter. And it got really brutal. I mean, it's just like a traffic jam of pigs. Everything was brutal. Everything. You know, I was using a covert camera for video to get almost all the evidence that I obtained. But in addition, I was constantly taking pictures with a still camera. Sometimes Ingrid would be like a lookout. She'd watch, make sure no one's coming. I'd snap a bunch of photographs. And sure enough, I see a pig and she's got her head stuck in between the bars of her crate and there's blood coming out of her mouth. So I made sure that the employee was nowhere that he could see me. I ran down there so that if he walked after me, I'd have time on him. Took the photograph. And then I ran back to try and catch him in time so he wouldn't be wondering where the fuck I was.
Hey, yo. Hey, yo. Sorry to leave you that shit. I'm gonna need a hand. This fucking pig has got her head stuck in the bars.
Up there?
Yeah. There we go. Right there. Yeah. We'll see. I'll see if she's still like that when we come back. Maybe she'll have gotten herself loose or something.
Probably gonna die anyhow.
Oh, yeah?
If she bleeds it, right?
Yeah.
The conditions at the Wiles hog farm were pretty bad. There's a lot of jagged metal inside the farrowing crates. Huge piles of manure just sitting there. They're basically fucking cage crazy, like a dog spinning in circles, except they can't spin because they can't even turn around. Once they're about to give birth, they're moved to a farrowing crate. And a farrowing crate is slightly bigger. They cannot turn around in it, but the mother can lie on her side. But she can't get away from her piglets. So her nipples end up bleeding. And she gets covered in sores from rubbing up against the farrowing crate. And then, after 2 to 3 weeks of having those piglets, you know, they're ready to be weaned from their mothers. We grab them, and then we throw them off into this bin. It's this little wheeled bin with a scale on it to weigh them, and it says weigh pig on the side. The way to do it that they decided was to grab them by their legs or their ears sometimes and just throw them. You can hear them screaming. They'd hit the crate, they'd bounce off the sides of it, sometimes hit the floor. So they pile up on each other so that, I mean, there's several pigs on top of each other.
I actually saw sows that had their babies taken away, and most of those sows died. They refused to eat or get up after those babies were taken away. They would try to bite you through the bars as you grab their babies. They tried to protect them. They have instincts just like a mother's going to protect her baby.
And eventually they'd get moved off and then thrown off into a school bus. I don't know why they chose to use a school bus. I guess they just needed something big to fill with as many pigs as possible to move to other barns for them to grow more away from their mothers. Today's Tuesday, February 21st, 2006, 11:29 a.m. I've already done some recording. I'm about to go on my lunch break. Set up my sting. Got the footage off of it last night, cleared off the memory card. And this is the recording device. So all the audio and video I record is going to go onto this, and it's going to go onto this 4 gig card. This is the Wiles Hog Farm. Looks like this is where I'm going to go to apply at. I've looked over some of the info from HFA's previous hog farm investigations, and this stuff looks really nasty. You know, pigs cannibalizing each other and beating piglets over the head and all that kind of shit. I mean, I think this is going to be some nasty, nasty work.
Bob Baker, our field investigator, knew of Pete's work on other animal cruelty issues and felt that he would be the person to go into this facility if anybody could. One of the things that we know about Pete is that he's fearless, and not everybody can withstand the kind of risk that's involved in going undercover in these facilities.
Apparently this is the residence of the farm owners, and this is the main farm area right here. Supposedly there's about 6,000 sows, 10,000 piglets at any given time on the different properties, but most of them are housed right here at this location. So I'm gonna have to work with everyone else and try and be buddy-buddy with them to work alongside them. I think I'm gonna have to go with the flow on this one. I've never worked at a factory farm before. This will be my first. But, you know, there's always a first for everything. So I'll just try to blend in.
There's no one inspecting the way animals are raised for meat in this country. There are no laws other than the general anti-cruelty laws. And unfortunately, most states make exemption for farm animal practices because they know it's cruel. So it's up to private organizations like Humane Farming to represent these animals and to bring these abuses to the law enforcement attention.
Ingrid contacted the Humane Farming Association, and over a period of weeks, we developed a relationship with her, and we're really struck by her commitment and her compassion.
Never looked at a piece of pork and associated with a pig. Never thought that a pig was actually like a dog and had feelings and emotions. And they're fourth on the intelligence scale. So you're looking at, you know, humans, primates, dolphins, and the pig.
The pig isn't bringing you your newspaper in the morning. You know, people just, for the most part, just don't empathize with these animals. But they're living, feeling creatures. They suffer and they feel pain.
I had to have a pretext to get on the farm, a reason why I'm there. And so I basically spoke to this employee, Ingrid, and said, hey, I'm just gonna say I'm your cousin, I don't really know you, and I'm out of luck with work, and my family told me you work at a hog farm, you know, and then you said you might need some help. Yeah, I don't know how long I'm gonna be here. Rumor is I might just be here a couple weeks. All I have to do is I really just have to film them hanging the downed sows. A downed sow is a sow that can't walk under her own weight. She's gotten sick or she's injured, and so a way to just kill them off is they apparently drag them out, put a chain around their neck, and then they hang them. They hang them by a chain that's connected to a front loader, which they raise up in the air. I've never heard of that. HFA's never heard of that, so this is a unique thing to this farm. So if I can document it, that's our best shot at being able to try and prosecute these people for animal cruelty. This was an important job, and the word was that if I cannot document these pigs being hanged to death, no one will ever be able to film it, and then how the hell are we gonna get a cruelty conviction? So I felt like there was a lot riding on it, and I had to get it done. I went and I met Ken Wiles, who's the owner of the Wiles Hog Farm. You know, he said, yeah, he needs people, and so I said, I just need work, and I will bust my ass and do whatever he needs done, and I have a lot of experience working with animals. So the Wiles Hog Farm has about 6,000 pigs. So it's a large farm. Basically, their operation is to birth and raise the pigs, then send them off to become hogs ready for slaughter. They use gestation crates and farrowing crates, just like most other hog farms in America. Gestation crates are where sows are impregnated in those crates, and they're waiting while they're pregnant.
How do they know which ones are pregnant? How do you know on a pig? You just see on the belly?
All these are pregnant.
You can just tell on the belly?
Yeah.
They're totally confined, shoulder to shoulder, so they can't move for about 113 to 116 days. If they lie down, they have to plop straight down.